Welcome to Tapping In, where we tap into the wisdom and experience of successful leaders. I am your host, Gwen Brain, and I am a mental health expert, and I love working with businesses and organizations, seeing how they can improve the mental health of their employees. Today, we have the CEO of Enercon, Larry Tangel, and he's going to be talking with us about all that's been going on in his work and in his life, or maybe not all of it, but certain parts of it. So Larry, welcome. Thank you so much. Can you just give us a brief overview of your company and exactly what y'all do?
Sure. Hi, Gwen. First, let me say thank you for inviting me in this conversation. I'm looking forward to engaging with you in this discussion. Mental health is an important aspect of everybody's world, and certainly any organization must have good communication up and down the organization hierarchy, and that requires good mental health and to stay inside the focus that we're talking about here. My organization is a organization founded by my father 49 years ago. Today, we're celebrating our 49th anniversary. We're having a party right now. Awesome. We just got done celebrating. For all the people out there still having the bags tournament as we speak. The organization started. My father it's in the business of custom design of power systems, specifically paralleling switchgear that allow multiple engine generated power sources to speak effectively to each other and to provide power to a load. We also take those diesel natural gas engines, tying them to a generator and package them inside containers or enclosures that need to be put around buildings, say a hospital, a hotel, a data center, especially a data center, or maybe a mobile application, a military application where they need to take the power with them on a trailer. So we specialize in what's called system integration, where we integrate all the mechanical and electrical equipment into a usable power plant so that it can be used at whatever specific custom situation is necessary.
Awesome. That's awesome. So that's just fascinating work, but it's been a long journey for you. So you've been in this business probably almost as long as your dad has, right? So
yes, yeah. About 34 years ago, I joined the firm. About 38 years ago, my father asked me to join the firm, and I said to him at that point, yes, but no. And what that meant at that point was, at the time, I was a 26-year-old young man living in Chicago and not actually succeeding. And I did not want to come to work for my father's firm in a mood of needing to come to work for my father. So I said to him, I will absolutely come to work for you as soon as I know I don't need to come to work for you. So I spent the next 4 years building a career in Chicago in the financial marketplace, where I had gotten offered to trade bonds. And when I got that offer to trade bonds, it would have given me a career path. Being very good with numbers and math, I felt that I could really succeed in that offer. And I told them no, and I went to work for my father. In hindsight, it would have been better to tell them yes, produce 2 years of great success in the financial markets, and then go to work for my father. Well, that's 34-year ago hindsight. So I do feel good, and it was effective for me to make sure that I had a career path that I knew that I could succeed without my family business help before I came to work for my father, so that this was a choice for me, not a choice for economics.
Right. Good. But you knew within inside yourself that you had some growing you needed to do and you wanted to do before you showed up. You wanted to show up in a different place at your father's business. So that's really cool.
Yes, I wanted to show up as an accomplished actor instead of a son who needed a job.
Right, an intern or anything like that. Yeah. So what other wins have you had in your journey as a CEO or running this business, or maybe even in your work career in general?
Well, we've had a lot of success. My father was very successful, and we were a key supplier to one large engine manufacturer that dominates the power generation marketplace. And we were successful in being their custom supplier of all of their switchgear. And so that really was a good launching off point. However, what we could see in time, and that did eventually move away, they started wanting to do it themselves. So we had to morph into new directions. And one of those new directions that started out with my father was we're packaging gensets into custom configuration, as I said before, system integration. That started in the 80s, but when I joined in the 90s, it became more dominant because as our electrical business started to drop down in the mid 90s, our mechanical packaging business started to pick up. And that was a direct result because of the nature of competition with our biggest customer. In 1994, our biggest customer became a competitor. They started making their own products for their dealers. And that was a significant portion of our business. And we found our revenue for the electrical business drop almost 80%. And we had to replace that. And we replaced that with this mechanical system integration business that we had just, at the time, prior to this large organization getting inside our business, we were 15, 17 million electrical, 3 to 4 million mechanical. And by 1999, we have 5 million electrical and 20 million mechanical. Mm-hmm. Right? So we really had to totally switch our business in a way that focused in a way to stay out of the way of the larger player. Because they were dominating and we couldn't win against them. They would we just had to find our way in between. Right. Mm-hmm. And at one point, and we had been invited to their internal supplier trade show that they had regularly. And during this transition, we rebranded ourselves inside their business to become a packaging company and not a switchgear company. And that really did work. It really created a space where that company, the major company, not only was the dealer buying products from us, but eventually the factory started buying the mechanical products from us as well, while we were competing with them on the electrical product.
Yeah, so that's interesting.
That's a very clear example of today's world, which is this new word, which is a compound word called co-opetition. And what co-opetition means, you cooperate in one domain and you compete in another domain. So you are co-opetition. It's a made-up word.
Cooperating with your competition.
Correct. Not colluding. Now, this is not colluding, not like price fixing, right? These are two different domains. It's completely legal and ethical. Collusion, quite frankly, which goes on at the airlines and other places, is absolutely not okay, right? Collusion is what we're seeing today in the price of gasoline. Collusion is what we're seeing today with the price of food, right? The companies have decided they don't have to lower their prices, and they are now gouging people, and that really is something that needs to be addressed.
But I love how you took what could have been seen as an obstacle or a huge challenge or a slap in the face and turned that into, so what else can we do? You know, how do we transform this huge challenge into something that's going to work for us? And not only did it work for you, it actually worked for the person who put the challenge up in front of you. So you ended, that's amazing.
Yes. So today we're working very closely with them, and we hope to have significant business in 25 and 26. We currently do a decent amount of business with them right now. Like I said, they were our primary customer, and they may become a primary customer again. But they are very key in our industry. I've obviously left their name off the table at this point, but they are a good company and they've done good work for us, and we've been very grateful to be connected to them for our whole history. We've been part and parcel supplier to them for 49 years, our whole existence. And so it's a good thing. And I take the same model elsewhere. I could expand that in early 2000. right around the time of the financial crisis, 2007, 2005, just before the financial crisis.
Right.
We went, we were looking for new opportunities, and I sent my business development manager throughout the Peoria area, which is a metropolitan area of about 300, 400,000 people, with a machine tool shops and your typical industrial small city type of organizations. And I said, go find somebody outside of power generation who needs wiring or metalwork or welding or painting or anything that we can do electrical mechanically that we do in our power systems. See if we can find something outside of power so that we can expand in a marketplace beyond power generation, sort of in the sense of getting more diverse. Well, he found a company in the water reclamation space who does water reclamation for car washes and does reverse osmosis machines. Mm-hmm. And we got involved with a research project on their technology. And their technology they use for water reclamation, this may sound a little odd, can also be applied to take the odor out of confinement animal hog farms. So what people might not realize, and it might be hard to understand and a little gross, is that hog manure is 90% liquid, which we can run that through our process that we clean up and deodorize water, deodorize and clean up and to reuse water, to do the same thing inside a hog farm. And in fact, we've proven it. There are such things as manure specialists in the world, and they're located in rural college communities like Bloomington, Illinois. And we had a guy take our technology and test it. And we were able to clean up modest size confinement animal hog facility. Modest meaning under 1,000 hogs in this building. And we were able to clean that up in 3 days, running our equipment, so that if any farmers are out there, they'll understand that you can't breathe through your nose in a confinement animal hog facility. But 3 days after we put our equipment in, you could take a big old breath through your nose and you wouldn't pass out because that's that cleaned it up. So right now we're not that was, and so in that project and invention, we saw this company as a valuable company, and we purchased them 3 years later. So we were fortunate enough to be in that situation, and we owned them now for 17 years, and we've increased their output by over 1,000% in those 17 years. And they're now hitting numbers near 10 million in revenue. They were under $1 million in revenue when we bought them. Small opportunity with about 10 people. So it's not it's not crazy big business, but it's effective, small to mid-sized businesses, and it's doing very well.
That's fantastic. So I love that. I love that you're doing something that actually helps people. Like, a lot of hog farmers kind of just have the attitude of, yeah, well, it is what it is, and they don't worry about their neighbors surrounding. I've seen a couple of documentaries on that, and it's nice that you've come up with a solution. That's fantastic.
A solution currently that will not be sold because, as you just spoke, the hog farmer likes the smell, and there are no regulations that they can't smell, and so therefore they will not buy it. Right. So right now it's an interesting solution that is sort of like, oh, great, we put that in the shelf, and maybe someday that'll be valuable. At this point, right now, it's not. But it might be, because I understand Smithfield Foods is having a little bit of problem with some of their hog facilities. But that might be more from the effluent that they're letting out than it is the odor necessarily. They're probably not handling their waste products well.
Well, I believe I was watching a show where someone was filing suit against one of the large hog farming companies. I don't know if it was that one or not, because of the pollution, because people were getting sick, the people who lived close. So anyway, okay, we could really go off on that.
Yeah, that's right. That was an example again of my looking for, as I said, looking for a creative opportunity so that we could succeed with the skill sets we had.
Right.
And in our latest effort right now, the next thing we're doing right now is we're expanding into what is known as electrical control panels. So paralleling switchgear is a very jargony term. It basically means for the layman, imagine having two engines in a car driving those wheels. That would be very challenging. It wouldn't work. And so what paralleling switchgear does is it controls that allow two engines to talk to each other effectively. And so what I realize as the paralleling switchgear market has now been dropping for a lot of reasons that I won't get into right now, but it is a marketplace that is the technology and what's necessary. People are not doing as much paralleling systems as they've done in the past. And so we saw that a paralleling switchgear is nothing but a very big, complicated, specific control panel. So we could do electrical control panels for anything. So right now, well, it is our own company. We're doing electrical control panels for SoBright, our water company, with a PLC and some sensors and stuff put in there so that we're wiring up. We're in the middle of bidding for a elevator company right now. Do some control panels that they've outsourced for their elevators. We are doing some work for a conveyor belt company, doing a little control panel for a conveyor belt company. So the concept is take our skill at PLC controls, signal processing, and be able to then take that into any electrical need. And that's going to be a future marketplace because right now, everything is getting electrified. Right. And so everything's going to need a control panel. And that's what we see as the next large direction we want to go take for the company.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So just from looking at how you've spoken about it, it's very evident that you really drilled in and honed in on what are we good at? What do we know how to do? And how do we put that in different contexts so that we are not just pigeonholed, we're not putting all our eggs in one basket. And I see a lot of companies do that, where this is what we do. No, we're not moving outside of that because this is what we do. And I think you really do limit yourself when you just stick with what you originally started with. We only make brown shoes. We're never going to make any other color shoes because we make brown shoes. That's why we're called brown, And so I think it's important for leaders to be able to be creative, and say, okay, we do good. Where else can these skills or these tools or these unique abilities be applied throughout the world, And
early in my career here, I read an article in some business press, could have been Economist magazine or something like that. And it said the article was basically talking about this organization saying, well, what we do today, 5 years ago, we never did anything what we did today. And we don't expect 5 years from now to be doing what we're doing today. Right. And I read that and I went, when we're in electricity and energy and power generation, right? That's a very much a lagging industry. And the reason it's a lagging industry is because when you throw that switch in that room you're sitting in right now, you don't want anything to go wrong. You want that light to turn on. And you have the experience that happening all the time. So it seems easy, right? And yet people in the power industry who make sure that lights work, they don't like to be on the cutting edge. For instance, it took over a decade for computers to be allowed into the power generation industry. It started in the 1990s, but they weren't really accepted until the 2000s because people were a little nervous as what's going to happen. Y2K was crazy. There was Microsoft, and I'll use their name, spent a lot of money having people sitting around all over the country in key locations at 11:50 on Y2K, just in case something really went wrong. They hired us too. Okay, a little cat out of the bag there. We were actually had people at a couple of locations in Chicago ready to take action to controls if something actually went wrong. We assured them that we never used the first 2 dates in our programming, that it will not go wrong. There won't be anything wrong. And what happened in Y2K? Nothing.
Right.
Because nobody was doing that with the program. Now, since then, because of old dates and new dates in 1900 and 2000, yeah, everybody now uses 4 dates in a year. Of course, everybody does. But before that, nobody was, right? So it was no problem. and it didn't turn out to be a problem. But so I'm not sure why I got off on that tangent, so I apologize.
Okay, that's okay. Yeah, yeah, we probably ought to wrap up, but I just love the points that you brought out about, working on yourself, showing up the way you wanted to show up in your business. Also, the idea of shifting gears when you need to and turning something that could have gone downhill, been very negative, and could have created a lot of resentment. You decided not to move that direction. You chose to go into a cooperative effort and do something different. And then the third point you brought out was about just being creative and learning, paying attention to what you do and what you're good at, and finding other context and avenues of turning that into business and generating revenue and creating an impact in the world that way. So that's fantastic. I love those three things, and I really appreciate you bringing that to the table with us today.
Well, thanks, Gwen. I guess if I could close with one point, one final point, although I like three better than four, but we'll close with this idea, and I wanted to share this because I'm in the process of stepping back, if you will. As you know, I told you, I'm now not day-to-day operation. I put in a gentleman who has been with us 24 years as my president, the guy I groomed now for over a decade. We had conversations ago, is this possibility? I have sons and a daughter, but none of them really seem to want to be coming into the business. Now, the youngest one might. And we're in conversations. But he's in his 20s, and I'm in my 60s, and I needed a transitional leader. So this has been a plan of ours for some time, and Nick has been my chosen transitional leader. So he's in his mid 40s, and he's fantastic. He's done a great job. Was the head of our military business and our biggest business, and is now running our organization as the president, and hopefully saving a seat for my youngest son, William, at the time comes when he wants to join, and he's 20 and going through college and getting his degree and deciding what he wants to do. And hopefully he'll do something similar to me, establish a career outside of Enercon prior to coming in, and then be an opportunity to continue on. My father's ambition and wish as a 92-year-old man who still comes to work on a regular basis, would love this to be in the Tangel family forever. And if this all works, it could end up being that way, and we could take this into the third generation and beyond. And so if that happens, great. And I am very confident where Nick is taking us. So I guess the point I want to make there is that it's really important to have a long-term strategic plan on how you're going to go and where you're going to take in the long run. For my father, who founded this company, still working and 92 years old and coming in to work every day, it's his baby. In the second generation, I helped grow it. It's not my baby. And I don't want to be here when I'm 80 every day. Okay, mm-hmm. I'm moving into another direction and helping and still being strategically tied. Nick and I are engaged in a weekly conversation to make sure everything's going the way it's supposed to go. And that helps me with my other organization. I have since now started 2 other organizations with other people. And so I'm in more of a mood of expansion to new opportunities for myself and for others in places where I can guide with my leadership skills and let them do the actual day-to-day tactical work each day. So that's where I'm taking it and where I'm going. And it seems like it's a good direction at this point. And I appreciate the time.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I'm going to be signing off. Thank you for joining us today. And we hope to see you on our next episode of Tapping In.